Hello, and welcome to Hallelujah Hour on LifeZone TV. This is Tiffany Knowles. I am the managing editor of NEWDmagazine.com, and I am your host for today's broadcast. LifeZone TV reaches over 5 million households across America, and it's watched in over 100 countries. And you can watch us online, on mobile, on Roku, and on television. Now, whenever you are watching, please contact LifeZone TV and let us know you're watching. Text someone, Facebook them, and ask them to tune into Hallelujah Hour 2. You can even call your cable network and ask them to carry LifeZone TV. Now today we have two very special guests in the studio, and I'm excited to be interviewing our first guest today. His name is Gbenga Omotayo. Gbenga Omotayo. Oh, lovely. It rolls off of my tongue so great. Okay, now Gbenga is an amazing man of God. And he is a business marketing coach and a few other things, but we're going to zero in on his business marketing coaching today. Now, he's also the author of a book that's just been published. It's called How to Start Your Own Business While Employed, From Procrastination to Action. I love that because procrastination is very rampant in our society, and we've got to beat it out of us. All right, we got to get it out so that we can be productive in this life. So I'm excited that you've written this book. Welcome, Gbenga.
Thank you, Tiffany. How are you today?
I am very well.
Awesome.
You look like this awesome executive sitting next to me.
Thank you.
Yeah, no. I pale in comparison to this gentleman here.
You look great.
Thank you.
Tiffany, you look great.
You're so kind. All right, Gbenga, I want to first start by talking about your background in business. People want to know, how are you credible to write such a book, starting your own business while employed? Did you do that? Did you follow that path?
Absolutely, Tiffany. I started my own business as far back as 2010, and I'm the producer of Night of Gospel Apps, Christian Resources Expo, Christian Ministry Awards, Platform for Success, and a host lot of other things. And so while I was doing all this, I was working full-time. So I was working full-time, and I was also doing all my business on the side. And that was very profound because I found out that if God really places a vision in your heart, and if you're waiting for the perfect time to do that, it may not come, really. And the more you're holding on, the more fear creeps in. The more a lot of other issues will come in, and you will eventually not be able to do that. Let me quickly tell you, there was a gentleman, when we had the first Christian Resources Expo, he told me, he said he had to confess to me. He said because God has told him to start that expo a couple of years back, and he was procrastinating.
Oh my.
And he saw me did it. He came to promote Organo Gold Coffee.
Right.
And he told me, and I just told him, you know, you can still join me, we can do this together to the glory of God. And that is to bring home that point that you really have to step out. You can't wait until you fully able to do that. And the other thing is, if you start your business on the side, a couple of things would happen. You will be able to know if truly this is what you want to do. And if it's not the right thing to do, all you have to do is stop doing that. You've got nothing to lose. You still got your day job anyway. And another thing is, you will be able to train yourself. You will be able to grow. You will be able to, transition smoothly when the time is right.
For you to go full time.
Full time. And in my own case, I did that from 2010 up until last year, March of last year. And with all joy in my heart, I wrote a resignation letter and I gave it to my boss.
Wow.
And I told them I'm leaving. Everyone were asking me, what would you be doing now? Which company are you going to? And I said, I'm actually going to be working for myself. And that was one of the most happiest days of my life.
Oh, of course it would be.
Yeah, being able to resign and do what I love to do full time.
Okay, now you did say something about not waiting for the perfect time. So a lot of people say that, like, I'm going to wait until I have everything set before I marry. I want to have everything set before I have a child.
Yes.
So you're saying just like it's never a perfect time to be married or to have a child, it's never a perfect time to start a business either.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Now let me explain this. While I was doing my business on the side, I also was doing some due diligence. I was doing my market research. I was praying to God. I was laying the foundations. I was building credibility. I was understanding my audience, and I was able to play around with my vision, the vision God gave to me, until I got to a point where I feel this is it. This is what you need to take out to the people. And so in that way, you would know that you can't fold your hand. You still have to do a little bit of, a little bit of work. But what I'm saying is, even when I resigned, there were so many things that were still not in place. So what I'm saying is, if you are saying you would wait until you have everything, all the dots, all the highs, all the commas, everything in place, it will not happen. You just have to run with the vision. And let me quickly tell you, what I've learned so far is there will really never be a perfect product. When you have a business, you just have to keep tweaking, and you have to be very, very flexible.
That's so true. Isn't that what Apple does? Apple's
Thank you.
constantly innovating.
Innovating,
Yeah.
that's the word. You
Yeah.
said it. You have to be very innovative. You really, really have to study the people, know what they want. And that's the thing. And that's the thing. I was going to talk about that. I mean, as we just say it now.
So go ahead.
One of the problems Christians, entrepreneurs we face, aspiring ones, is that we have these ideas stuck in our head, and we refuse to change it because God said, I got this vision that this is what I need to do. And when it comes to the reality of the people, and the people are not getting the message. So the problem is not the vision, the problem is not what God said. The problem is the way you interpreted the vision.
Okay.
And so if people are saying, we don't want that, we want it the other way. So you have to keep listening to them, you have to keep tweaking, you have to keep changing until you give them what they really love.
All right, I want to talk about how you know that your business will be viable. Are there some keys or tips that you can give the general public to know that, hey, this is going to be a viable business? Is there a way you can figure that out?
Well, in my book, I spoke about idea generation. To actually get an idea, being a child of God, being Christians, everything has to start with God. And I believe that God really wants to prosper His people. So it starts with God. And when you receive an idea from God, maybe through visions, maybe through inspirations, maybe through word of knowledge, or maybe you just have this intuition, this feeling that this is it. This is what I'm supposed to do. Whatever it is that you want to step out to do as a business, there has to be that spiritual backing. Because owning a business and running a business is more or less like a Chinese bamboo tree. I'm sure you've heard of that story,
Oh, yes.
the analogy of that Chinese bamboo tree. It will stay in the soil for 5 years, and you will see nothing. Even with praying, with watering and everything, you don't see nothing come up. You think it's done.
Stubborn bamboo tree.
That's right. So running a business is more or less like that. So you really, really want to be sure that what you're getting yourself into is what you've been called to do.
Right.
Because it will get to a point you will feel like, am I doing the right thing? So you need that backing, you need that spiritual strength to keep you on and say, you know what, God called me, I'm going to let him, I'm going to see it through. And so a lot of people quit their business because they don't have that spiritual, they don't have that confidence that they're doing the right thing.
Wow.
So one of the key is for people, Christians, to take the time to listen to God, get inspiration, and use that to move forward. And when challenges come, they will be able to handle it because they know that this is truly what I've been called to do. Wow. This is truly, with God's blessing. So it's going to see through until, like the Chinese bamboo tree, until the 5th year when your bamboo tree will begin to spread wings and will grow up onto 90 feet.
Up like 90
up to 90 feet.
Oh my God.
Overnight.
Yeah,
Yes.
overnight, right?
Overnight. And that's the way it is. That's the way it is.
Okay, now your book is all about starting a business while you're employed. So I want you to let us know what are the signs for us to look out for to determine when we should quit, and how should we go about quitting?
I think I'm going to use my case, my own story. So in my own case, I was doing my business on the side and I was working full time. It got to a point, the demands of my business that I was doing on the side was getting more than my 9 to 5, and so do the income that comes in from my side job is almost as my day job. So I realized that, listen, if I'm spending all the hours, if I'm spending my evenings, my late nights to build my business, and I'm making this much money, so what if I give the peak of my time to my business? What would come in? And so I saw the sign that this is the time for me to, and being a Christian, I wanted to be accountable. I noticed that my side business was beginning to eat into my day job. People were calling me during my regular working hours, which is not right.
Of course.
So I didn't want to be using my regular, the time for my personal business. And I got home, I spoke to my wife, and I've always been telling my wife, but on this occasion, when I called her and I said, I think this is time, she said, yes, I agree. So I got that confirmation from my wife. We had that agreement, we prayed over it, and that was it. So if anyone wants to do that, you have to, if you're married, let your spouse be in that decision, because when it gets started, it's going to affect your family.
No, I can imagine so. So let's zero in on that.
Okay.
How would you approach it if let's say you were like a startup business, and you have a spouse? How do you handle that, knowing that, okay, this is my vision and I want to transition out of this in a few years, maybe 2 years? How do you broach that topic with your spouse? They like the stability. I mean, wives like stability.
I think it's all about if there is good communication. If your wife knows what you do. Like I remember when I met my wife in 2006, the first thing I told her, I could now remember it vividly, I told her I had this vision from God that this is what I should be doing. I told her even before we started dating. So she knew, right?
Really?
Yes, correct. So she knew this is what this guy wants to do. And so it was very easy for her to blend into all of the things that I do. Wow. Even though you may not see her out there, but she knows everything that I do. And she followed through with all the steps. So it was very easy for me to tell her that, okay, I think this is the time.
Even when kid number 2 and kid number 3 came?
And kid number 4 now.
And kid number 4!
And that's the joy of being an entrepreneur.
Okay.
You see, I tell you, Tiffany, whoever controls your time, controls your life. I tell you, I spend quality time with my kids. I do my business, and I also spend quality time with them. People at church, I see people with just one kid. They tell me I can't come to meetings because of my child, and they were like, oh, I'm sorry, you have 4 kids, I don't know how you're able to do that.
Okay.
But in my own case, I couldn't. And even my pastor told me, so what I'm trying to say is, working for myself has really made it easy for me to manage my home. 4 kids. My wife is in school. I'm an HOD of like 2 departments, and very, very, very demanding. So it's really something I love. I'm enjoying it.
This is incredible. Now, we're going to take a little break, but when we come back, we will deal with a few more of the final